All right, now we've all heard that song as a lullaby or maybe in jest. It's a very, very cool song. I know other people have different opinions about it, but it's You Are My Sunshine, and it's a really, really cool song to learn. I had learned that song, and most of what I do know and teach through Kent Hewitt's book, his music book, so you should go out and buy it. It's like $50 for like a printout version. I think it might be like 100 for his like hard copy. It's jazz piano 1 and 2. I think that's what it's called. But if you look up like Kent Hewitt and like jazz piano, like that book is there, and it's like super solid, and I teach out of it. But because I also want to be very privy and aware of like not taking other people's stuff, I am kind of referencing a lot of what he teaches and consolidating those ideas, but I'm also giving him credit. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this song because I think it's really helpful to understand how to play with both hands. And the way that I had just played it is a little bit different than the way that he taught it, just so that I'm being courteous to him. And it's also the way that I like to go about like learning songs. So let's get into that. First thing is first is we need to get the melody down. So we're staying in the key of C for now, and it's really helpful for us, especially if we're like trying to just figure out a song by ear, where the starting note is. So in this case, if we're thinking about starting notes in general, is they can start on the root, they can start on the fifth, they can start anywhere. In this song, we're actually starting on the G. So that's going to be the fifth of the key of C. And the scale that we're actually going to be playing is from one of the scales that is being focused on, it seems, is the major pentatonic scale. And that major pentatonic scale is going to be C, D, E, G, A, C. In this scale, you're going to find all over the place. It's my theory that this is like the scale of man, because God made us with 5 fingers, 2 different hands. There's a major pentatonic, and then there is a relative minor pentatonic, or you could say like minor pentatonic. And these scales are found all over the world. And it's not even dependent upon like your ethnicity or whatever. Like all ethnicities, all places in the world have these scales. They might be called different things, but it is the same thing. And so that's really, really cool. And my personal kind of conviction is that this scale really teaches us how to play music. It was the first scale that I ever knew, the relative minor scale. And as I've learned about the major scale, the major pentatonic scale, it's only broadened my horizons when it comes to music. So long digression there, but bringing it back, this scale is super important for us to learn. So remember, this scale is going to be root, major second, major third. We skip the fourth straight to the fifth, like we learned in guitar. Then major, in this case, it's going to be a minor 6th chord, but it would be a major 6 here and root. So we have. And And this will help us so we can figure out like where these notes lay out. Now, starting from this kind of major pentatonic shape, you could think like, okay, well, we're going to go a little bit lower than that, and then right back to home, which is going to be like in this kind of area. But we do have to figure out our fingerings after we figure out the notes. So let's do that. There we go. Now, there are different versions of this song, especially when I was studying Kent Hewitt's book. It would throw me off because it wasn't exactly like that. And so we'll get into that once we start going between both hands and playing the melody and the chords at the same time. But at least for right now, be aware that those are the notes so far, with some kind of variation at the very end with our 5 chord. But when I'm playing this, I'm trying to figure out like a way for me to be able to keep my hand in an easy position, just so I don't have to work so hard. So that's why I like to keep my hand in like certain hand grips, and I also urge you to do the same, just so that you don't have to like, think of like a new fingering every single time. You can just play the song. So let me play one more time, and then we'll move on to our chords. My bad. So that is the notes, besides that mess up, of You Are My Sunshine. I'll play it one more time just because of that mess up. Very cool. Now, those are the melody notes. Let's get into the left-handed chords. So I'm going ahead a few steps, especially in regard to like how I've learned things, but I think that that's okay for you to do. I will briefly talk about each of the chords though. Now, this song is predominantly major, and so like the chords that we're going to be playing are going to be, in this case, because we're in the key of C, we're going to be playing the 1 chord. We're going to be playing the 4 chord, which is F in this case, and then G in this progression. So when those parts come up, are very, very helpful to us to know like how a lot of songs work. So the 1 chord is very much like a home chord. And the F major chord, or the 4 chord in this case, is like a travel chord from the 1. So it's like a journeying chord. Like we're no longer at home. We're actually like making our way downtown. we're making our way to someplace besides home. And I like to think about the 5 chord being a destination chord. In this case, our G major chord. And when we get to a destination, we either have the option of like staying there, or we can go someplace else, or go right back home. That's how this song is built. And if we think about it that way, it'll help us to kind of like figure out when we're going to use each chord. And I'm also going to tell you, so that's very helpful as well. So we start off with our C chord. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me, and as soon as we get to happy, that's where we're going to switch over to the F. So when we're like in that home position, that's where we're playing the C. When we're like traveling to a new idea, in this case, that's like F. Then we come back. By the time we're actually like going to the end of the song, that's when we whip out that G major chord. And if you're like watching my fingers and you're like, wait, like those aren't like the chords that we had learned, yes, you're right, at least some of them. What I'm doing is I'm actually making some inversions here, and you might be thinking like, okay, what is an inversion? That sounds fancy. I want you to think about it in its simplest form, because it's actually very simple. But as I've taught it, I say that and then I make it complicated again. So I'm going to do my best to make it uncomplicated. An inversion is basically us just kind of rearranging the notes of a chord. So instead of playing C, E, G, is I can just like move one of the notes here, and that being C, over to the top, and then putting E, G in at the bottom. That would be my first inversion. And then if I make, you know, G the bottom note, and then I make C and E the more top notes, that would be my second inversion. Now, I'm not going to use those terms because in saying those terms, they will complicate things, and I at least know that from my own experience. So just, I wanted to talk about them because that is what they're referred to. You could think about them as inversions, or, you know, just a F chord or a C chord or a G chord with the notes in different orders. And when we're picking our order, usually it's so that we can favor the song. We can do something with the song where the melody note's on top, or it's easier to play in our left hand, like this example, or something else like that. It's nice to have a good reason why you're doing inversions. In this case, I'm going to rearrange my notes for F because this is easier on my hand than going and making that jump. That might not be as easy for you at this moment, but Lord willing, one day it will be, because it makes it a lot easier to like figure out songs. So remember, we learned the chords first, right? First we learned the key, and then we learned the scale that maybe the song kind of like is utilizing most of the time, the melody. And then we built up our chords, or figured out what our chords are, because we've already done our work previously with our scale tone triads. And then once we figured out our chords, then we can start rearranging them to where they feel good in our hand. So with this song, because we're playing C most of the time, we can stay in that kind of root position, and it's cool. If you want to get a little bit more complicated, you can rearrange this one as well, but at least for this scenario, that's what we're doing. Then when we move to the F chord, we need the notes of F, A, and C. Now check it out. Coming from a C chord, you already have that C down there. So instead of playing the E that we were playing from the first chord, our C major chord, we're just going to switch that with our pointer finger to the F. And then we need an A, so that's where I'm choosing to put my thumb. So I got pinky, pointer, thumb when I need to play an F chord. and then back to the C, E, G, and so my pinky middle thumb when I want to play the C chord. Now, when we go from here, the C chord, to the G chord, we could go, but that's a really big jump. So what I suggest you do is, in making it easier, and by using this rearrangement of notes here, an inversion, I would go and bring my GBD chord from C, E, G. I know that I already have a G. So because I already know I have a G, that means I need a B and a D. So I'm actually going to shift my pinky down from C to the B, and from my C chord, we got that E, so I'm going to shift it down to a D. So I've got B, D, G, and that's going to be my first inversion of G. And then back to C. So if I sing it and play it, it would sound something like this with my chord changes. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. A little stomach grumble there. Anyway, so that's going to be our placement for each of those chords with the left hand. We've got our C, switching to the F, back to C, and then when we're getting to the end of the phrase, we go to G real quick, our quick 5, back to the 1. We're only playing our 1, our 4, and our 5 within this song, but feel free to make it a little bit more complicated and fun, taking my example of the home journey chord and then destination chord to the other extreme. And trust me, I really want to talk a little bit more about that, but just in passing, if that is the case, where we have the 1 chord being home, 4 chord being the journey chord, 5 chord being the destination chord, you can do all sorts of things from home to your destination, and you can make very, very interesting stories by messing around with the chords that you are playing on the way to your journey and then back home. So keep that in mind. A little archaic, or sorry, a little bit abstract, I know, but if you're picking up on that, then yeah, have fun with that and mess around with it as you are learning songs and then coming up with your own songs, your own God-given songs, because they can be super, super cool when you're thinking about things like that and tell a story with your chord progression. But anyway, that's been the left hand. Let's move on to putting those two together. Why I really like this song for playing your left hand and your right hand is because if you work on your right hand and you get the melody down, you get your chords down, and you do what I did, like by singing it, you can really figure out how your right hand is supposed to, like, you know, kind of fit in with the timing of the left hand. The left hand is very much like keeping the beat of the song, or like the rhythm, and keeping everything grounded. And the right hand in the melody that's being played is very much the singer, if you will. So if that is like a little bit too abstract for you to get, or you need some extra help, remember that you can contact me, leave a comment, or we can have like a video response back and forth. No matter what, is what I'd like you to do is, by watching the examples that I've given you in this, I'd like you to play your right hand melody, your left hand chords, and if you want to, is you can sing this as well. But what I ask at the very least is for you to record yourself playing the left hand, right hand together, and then to share it with me or share it with the community after you've practiced the song and gotten it down, of course. And then, yeah, as you're at least done with this crash course in regard to piano. And yes, God bless you, congratulations, and Lord willing, I will see you in the next section.